10th anniversary. I just left DuPont. They trying to keep personal that. Man, that's about 40 guys?
All right, we'll call this meeting of the Ascension Parish Council's Finance Committee to order. I ask you all to please rise. Parish President Ronnie Hughes will deliver the invocation, after which we'll all repeat the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, as we meet here tonight as the Finance Committee and Administration, thank you for the opportunity to discuss the needs of our parish and to budget for those needs for next year. We thank you for the many blessings of this year and the increases in our revenues that are allowing us to provide improved services for the people in our parish. We ask a special blessing on Councilman Shakes and I and their family. The death of his brother-in-law Dale. I ask you to bless and comfort this family with thy spirit. We thank thee, Heavenly Father, for the blessings of America, for the opportunity to live in this wonderful free land, and all those who've gone before us that have given us the opportunities that we enjoy today. The American dream. We pray thou bless those who in our service to protect us, to help establish freedom. Pray for those in our community who have special needs.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Suzanne, let's have the record show that Councilman Scheck-Snyder is not with us tonight, nor is Councilman Todd Lambert, nor Mr. Jared Byriger. And just briefly here, I've been handed the arrangements, in case you're interested, for Kent's brother-in-law, Mr. Dale Lesh. He passed away late last night at St. Elizabeth Hospital, and funeral arrangements for him will be this coming Saturday, the 11th. The wake will be from 8 a.m. until 12:30 at Uso Funeral Home, and then there will be a funeral mass at 1 p.m. at St. Mark's Catholic Church in Gonzales. So those are the arrangements for Mr. Dale. No, as I understand it, there's no wake tomorrow night. It's all going to be Saturday. Dale Lesh was a good guy. I guess many of you know he was crippled in an accident while in high school, and he has spent his entire adult life as a quadriplegic. But that didn't stop him from living a full life. He got a college degree. He had several jobs. For a while, he was the dispatcher for our 911 system. So you probably talked to him on the phone maybe and didn't realize it. But he was a fine gentleman, and Ascension Parish is going to miss a good son. So please keep the Lesh family, the Scheck-Snyders, in your prayers. We're going to skip just a little bit. Public comment period is actually item number 4, and we encourage the public who are here with us tonight, and we welcome you and we thank you for being here. And we invite you to speak on any agenda item that you feel the need to. If you'll just come forward, sign in with Ms. Suzanne Patterson, and just let us know which agenda item you're going to talk on, and then we'll take your comments at that time. And we encourage you to participate. And thank you very much. Item number 3, the chair's additions. I'm just going to add this on because it was inadvertently omitted. The monthly Lamar Dixon financial report. And Mr. Eddy is not with us, but he has sent a representative to make that presentation, and that should already be at your places, the Lamar Dixon financial report. So,
yes,
thank you for being here.
Thank you. My name's Jody DeFess. I'm the accounting manager for Lamar Dixon. Mr. Crawford did have a family emergency, so he apologizes for his absence tonight. Before you have the September financials for the operations at Lamar Dixon. We showed a total event income on page 1 of $21,900. Indirect expenses of $138,000 with a net loss for the month of $97,000. We had budgeted a $47,000 loss for the month, so this is $50,000 above what was budgeted. That what is direct from the events is the combination of events that did not happen, that were budgeted and events that we picked up along the way. We did end up having more event days than what was budgeted, but these were smaller events and thus brought in less cash. As you can see on page 2, this follows the same pattern with the notes on describing which events we had and did not have. The ancillary income and direct event income fall hand in hand with what exactly was happening. Our other operating income shows our non-event RV hookups for the month at $13,900 and our non-event facility rental at $5,000, making up the largest portion of our other operating income. This was $9,000 above which was budgeted, and our indirect expenses for the month were above budget by $29,500. The major courses here were repairs and maintenance to the building, and the even larger was the utilities charges. On page 3, we have a year-to-date description of the same type of report, showing for the year we're $450,000 at a loss, with $133,000 of it being above budget. Page 4 shows a combined income statement showing more detail for the same description, breaking out the event and ancillary income as well as our indirect expenses. This also includes the parish administered expenses for the month, which were the rent for the facility, increasing our loss from $97,000 to $126,800. That's a combination of Lamar-Dixon SMG operations and parish administered expenses. Page 5 is a copy of our balance sheet for the month for your review. And page 6 is a description of our accounts receivable for the end of the month on September 30th. We have gone through to try and eliminate a lot of our over 90 days accounts receivable. The two largest items are a Humane Society for $3,300, which will be moving off of the books for the October financials, and the Entergy debt for $17,600 for the part of Entergy that's in the bankruptcy case. Right now we are in talks with a couple of hedge funds who are possibly looking to purchase that debt from us for a certain amount of change on the dollar. We're looking to see which is the best legal and most dollar efficient case. Finally, on page 7, we have our year-to-date event summary report, which gives a description of our events by event category, both for attendance, event days, direct event income, all the way through to total income. I've also presented you with a schedule of the events for November. We've got a couple of good events coming up. We've already had the Baton Rouge Kennel Club Dog Show and Southern Pride Rodeo. This weekend we have the NCRS Car Show. That's a Corvette show at the 4-H building. And Monday we have the Barnes and Bailey Circus coming in. At the end of the month we have a Gun and Knife Show and the Cajun Classic Quarter Horse Show for the week of Thanksgiving. I'd also like to say I found out this information right before leaving to come here, that we have been asked to bid on the high school rodeo for 08 and 09 that we already have for this year and next year. We feel confident about that, but I don't have any more information other than that at this point.
Does anyone have any questions?
One question, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dempsey Lambert.
Yeah, Jody, the maintenance.
Yes.
I know at Bourne 3 or 4 they had a bad water leak. Has that been repaired? Or can you give us a general idea of what maintenance have you completed?
I don't have an exact list of what maintenance has been done or not. I know there were several water leaks on the property in the past. I know there was one behind barn 3 or 4 that was being worked on. I can find out for sure exactly if that's one of them that has been repaired or is in line for repair. I know that for major ones we have been tackling them as they come right away. So I can find that out and get a report out.
Thank you.
Mr. Adrian Thompson.
Yes, Jody, what was the reason losing those events at Lamar-Dixon?
Many of the events were originally budgeted in a budget process that happened actually right before Hurricane Katrina. So a lot of these events either were events that went out of business or canceled due to the storm, or in some cases the organizations themselves went out of business or relocated, or events that we budgeted in anticipation of having them here, and just were not able to get them on the books and get an event like that in here due to the downturn of the whole facility and economy at that point.
What is SMG doing for this advertisement to help the loss of those events?
Right now, we're planning. We have a pretty strong 2007 calendar that we're putting together. We've got some pretty large events already, either under contract or in the works. We also have regional advertising going on right now. I wouldn't have any more information than that at this point. I know Mr. Crawford, being the general manager, would have more. I can ask him to prepare some information for you if you'd like.
Would you ask Mr. Crawford to come to the next council meeting and give us an update on what we're doing for this this situation and turning this place around, turning the place around?
Yes, sir. He is usually here for these meetings, but this was just a particular time that he was not able to make it. So I will make sure that he knows that question needs to be answered for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Hillensbeck has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one question. I realize this is through September 30th.
Yes.
My question is, Oktoberfest, how did that compare to a year ago? Was it better attended? Did we have a bigger event?
I believe that it was as successful as the previous event.
Year.
From the early numbers that I've been able to see, it was at least as successful, if not more.
Okay.
There was
I know that'll be in next month's report.
Yes,
okay.
there was a very good turnout for that event, though.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mr. George Valentine.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. McConnell. I just want to point out to the council and, of course, to the voting public that on page 4 you'll see the actual net loss combined. We are now, as of September 30th, at $761,498,000 at loss for the year on page 4 million.
I'm sorry, Mr. Valentine, where are you seeing that at?
Page 4, right here. The actual loss.
Oh, okay.
That's all, Mr. McConnell.
Okay. Does anyone else? Mr. Savoy, you have a question?
Yeah. On the events, I see you got Barnes and Bailey Circus coming November the 11th. Can you tell me what time that is? Because that's Monday, and I might be off, and if I am, I might just bring my grandkids.
I believe so. There's two event times. I hate to say the exact time. I believe one's in the afternoon around 4 o'clock and maybe one at 7. But anyone can call our office and definitely find out that exact time. I do have the ticket prices. They are $20 for an adult and $10 for children.
Okay. That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Just help me out. Isn't November the 11th Saturday?
They got Monday. Today's the 9th.
Today's the 9th, so I would think it's Saturday.
I'm sorry, that must be the 13th then. it is on...
Is it on Monday or Saturday? That's a big difference for me.
At the top of that page, it says November the 13th, and you have
yes.
Monday. So
November 11th. My understanding is it was probably a misprint for the 11th.
But it is Monday for
yes.
sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. That it? Thank you, Jody. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
We'll go out of order just a little bit. I'd like to move item number 11 up so we can deal with that right now because Mr. Keller has another engagement, in fact, at the Chem Friends Expo. So let's deal with item number 11 right now, and that's the Ascension Parish Hazard Mitigation Planning Pilot Grant. Dr. Paul Keller, grant consultant.
Yes, thank you very much. The council a month and a half ago had approved for us to go ahead and apply for a hazard mitigation planning pilot program, which would allow us to take the parish's hazard mitigation plan and redo it to bring it to after Katrina and after Rita standards. Well, in this process, we have completed all of it, but we have one step left to take, is that we have to advertise for a request for qualifications of firms that could perform the kind of work we need if this is successful. So we would like to that you would approve it and bring it to the council, that we could do a request for qualifications, that we'd start the advertisement upon approval of the council.
Then the chair will entertain a motion to that effect. What's the pleasure of the committee?
I will entertain that motion, Mr.
A
Chairman.
motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert.
second.
Second by Mr. Oliver Joseph to authorize the grants department to advertise for the qualification and to advertise for the bid and to request the qualifications.
That's
We're
right.
handling A and B at the same time.
That's correct.
All right.
We already, that's it. It just it was broken, but it's all one thing.
Okay.
Just
You
one
have a
thing.
question?
Yeah, and not particularly on this. I just wanted to say this to Suzanne and Dr. Keller while he was here. Suzanne, I want to borrow a page out of Adrian Thompson's book, and I'd like to get on the agenda for the next council meeting an update on the grant request for Muddy Creek Bridge. I'd like to get an update each council meeting out of the grants department.
Requested that, and we had already printed it, but I have a note here to put it.
Okay. Yeah, and I just want to say it in front of Dr. Keller so he'd be aware of it, so he'd make plans to provide that update at the next council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there any objection to the motion? Then the motion passes. One objection from Mr. Thompson. And Ms. Suzanne, would you please put that on the next council agenda? Congratulations, Mr. Thompson, for being a good example and a shining example to
Yeah, right.
And Boudreaux Road and Muddy Creek.
Yeah, you got it.
Working
Hey, you
together.
got it done, Mr. Thompson. That's the Thompson Book of Success. All right, item number 5 is the Battered and Abused Women's Program. Ms. Martha Forbes had phoned me earlier asking to make a presentation, but I don't see Ms. Forbes here, so we'll just pass over this. If she does come in later, we'll go ahead and deal with this issue at that time. But item number 6. The Employee Health, Life, and Dental Insurance Review. We have Mr. Nicky Falsetta from our Human Resources Department. We have Mr. Harry Robert from Robert Insurance. And ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your seats.
Thank you, Ms. Von Councilman. Appreciate the time. It's not all that bad, Martin. Really. I guess y'all can remember last year before, when representative from Coventry, our prior carrier, was over here. He kind of surmised, the condition of our group. Well, this past year we've been insured with United Health, and that condition hadn't changed. So, in getting quotes for this coming year, we got some various figures back, ranging from 4% decrease to 34% increase. Okay. Previous years we've always discussed, the concept of a high deductible plan connected with an HSA, which is a health savings account. And these things started getting popular, I guess, probably when they started off being a health reimbursement account years back. And in the last 3 years, that all transformed to the HSA, which is the health savings account, which is the most popular and probably the most effective savings account that's on the market today. One of our committee meetings, which was the last one was this week, I kind of reintroduced that concept to all our committee members, and because of the direction that the group is going in, really got a real favorable response to them participating in a high deductible, consumer-driven plan. Okay. Of course, one of the things that makes that successful is just the HSA, the health savings account, that's connected with the high deductible plan. Okay. Now, the thing that makes the health savings account workable and makes it palatable to the employees is when the employer contributes to their account. Okay. And what this does, it gets the employee involved in the purchasing process. They know how much prescriptions cost, they know how much doctor visits really cost, and they have brought in with the dollars actually spent on their behalf. So it's all a consumer-driven concept, and one of the ways that the government and everybody else has determined that if we don't get the end user involved in what he's paying for the item he's purchased or the service he's purchased, then we will never get control, of our health care. Okay. So, not surprisingly, but in the committee, it was just about unanimous that everybody was receptive to entertaining a high deductible plan with an HSA concept, as long as it was something that they thought they could afford. Okay. So that means in order to have an HSA plan which they'd be interested in, that probably it would require the parish to make some type of a commitment toward funding their HSA plan. Now, just in looking at the figures, we know that that can be done with the savings going from a conventional $500 or $1,000 deductible to a higher deductible, $1,500 deductible, taking that money and kind of funding their account. So before we go too much in detail and see, if we probably can come up with several plans that'll give all the employees an option whether or not they want the conventional $500 or $1,000 plan or participate in HSA. We'd like to get some type of idea whether or not y'all think that probably y'all would be willing to contribute to an HSA. If the dollars to fund it can come from savings of the $500 and $1,000 deductible. And then from that point, then we can go ahead and come up with some alternatives and then present to y'all, our recommendation for what we think probably, would work. There's some things that we have to consider, and number one is cost of the employee, cost of the parish, and also, something that will kind of control the direction of the group to where everybody can afford the insurance in the future. So I was just wondering if y'all thought that probably y'all might be interested in the HSA concept if it made sense to y'all dollar-wise.
And Harry, tell me again, what was the, how did the committee feel about this?
The committee, it was unanimous. I think there was one person that thought that probably she didn't understand enough about it to make a commitment, but she was still willing to talk about it and to learn more about it. But other than that, everybody thought that probably, they'd be interested in entertaining that concept if the figures made sense to them. They understood that it took more management on their part, more of an involvement, and that they were going to be responsible for their accounts. But with further education and further instructions about the plan, everybody was receptive to it. And at this point, we decided, human resources and other people involved, that it would be worthwhile venturing into to give them some type of option with the HSA concept and probably with a standard plan also. But the only thing that's going to make the HSA concept, work is if there's some type of a contribution from the employer side of it. So I was just wondering if you thought that probably that would be something that y'all would be interested in if the dollars made sense.
What's the wishes of the committee? Mr. Thompson?
I think we need to take a look at it, and we need more time to sit down and probably have a working meeting and discuss with some employees involved and talk about this, a few of them. I think we need a working meeting. It's just...
Okay.
And I apologize, I wish I could tell you a little bit more about it. Mr. Robert had requested a meeting with me beforehand so he could kind of educate. And usually we do that before all of the insurance presentations here. Harry and I will meet, and he kind of gets me up to speed so that I can understand it better. I am somewhat familiar with HSAs because that's been offered. It's been around for some years now, and I know my employer offers it, and I'm sure several of yours do as well.
Now, I don't want any type of an answer as far as this being the plan that we're going to accept. I just want to be able to include this and maybe what our recommendation might be to see that possibly.
So, essentially what you're looking for is if we feel that an idea such as this has merit at this time, that will help you when you're out putting your request for quotes and proposals.
Exactly.
Well, we could go on with it if that's the way.
So is that a motion, Mr. Thompson?
That's a motion.
I'll second it.
And a second by Mr. Valentine to authorize proceeding with investigating quotes and health insurance and employee benefits to include health savings accounts.
Okay. Just to give you all a heads up, we have a meeting scheduled for this coming Tuesday in this building. And we're going to have a couple of company representatives over here with the committee, the insurance committee. to really get into the nitty-gritty details of an HSA concept. So any of y'all, feel
What
like
time?
attending to learn something about it, that's going to be a real informative meeting.
Harry, if you could get that information to Suzanne, she can share all that with all of us. We can
Great.
have it emailed her.
But we're going to be prepared. We'll have slide presentations, and we're going to get into in-depth, analysis of the HSA and high deductible concept, for the employees at that time. Good. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Harry, for everything that you do for us. Is there any further discussion on this or any other questions? Is there any opposition to the motion? Then the motion passes. Suzanne, would you please include that on next week's agenda for the full council?
Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you very much. All right, I see Miss Martha Forbes has arrived, and so let's bump back to item number 5 then, the Battered and Abused Women's Program. Ms. Martha Forbes, Executive Director.
Well, thank you very much for allowing me a few minutes, and I apologize for being late, but it's another reason we need services directly in Ascension Parish. It took me a full hour to get here, which is 20 miles away. Yeah. So thank you for hearing me for a minute. As you know, Mr. President and the council did include $20,000 in this year's budget. And I understand there's some problem with the part of the budget that was in. And I'm here to ask for reconsideration of how the funding is budgeted, but to give you some justification about why the money would be well spent and has been well spent and will be well spent in the future. It is my estimate that right now we're spending about $135,000 for services in Ascension Parish. And the funding for those that to cover those services include United Way and portions of other grants we get, as well as the support from the local community, donations, BASF Industries, as an example, who recently had another very successful golf tournament, and the proceeds come to the Battered Women's Program specifically for Ascension Parish services. The best estimate I can give you for the number of victims of domestic violence in Ascension Parish that we have served so far year to date is 367. That's a large number of victims that we have served, survivors that we have served, and we have given more than 1,500 services to those women. In the spring of this year, we began legal services for the residents of Ascension Parish as well as other parishes through a Department of Justice grant who have applied for a protective order because of domestic abuse. And through that has allowed us to more than double the number of people we can serve in this parish. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have. I don't know what kind of information would be useful to you.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Martha, I think this is one we talked about, going with the mental health on some of this.
Right. And I believe...
Do you have any numbers or statistics that show that these 367 cases, this is individual incidents, or this is 367 different people?
Different people.
Okay.
There may be some slight, but there may be some slight overlap between our legal people we serve through the legal services, through the various advocacy and counseling services, the crisis line, and counseling, but it would be a small overlap because what we find is that victims who go for a protective order may be entirely different group of women and victims, some men, who then go for counseling. So it's real interesting there, but it's up to 300 individuals.
Now, does we help fund, I think, a legal services program now. Your legal work is separate from that?
You're talking about the Capital Area Legal Services
Yes, ma'am.
District. We Yes, it's different from that.
They won't
do
help
not,
in this area?
No, sir.
Okay.
They do not do the protective order portion. They do other legal services, and we refer to them for other legal services other than protective order hearings.
I guess my last question is then, if of these 367 people, do we know or have a historical analysis of the number of them that would need social, emotional, or mental counseling following these incidents of abuse? I mean, is that something that we know?
Well, all we know through research and knowledge of women who are battered women, and most of the people who come for services are women, is that the rate of mental illness or substance abuse is about the same as the rate for just the community at large. It's no larger. There may be some depression because of the abuse, but it would be no larger than the general population. So that when we refer women for mental health services or substance abuse services, but that's not, you know, and I can understand the debate. I know that in the board of the mental health board had a lot of discussion about that issue. People don't come to us because of mental health issues. They come to us because they're a victim of a crime.
But do you know how many of these 367 are referred to either the state or parish mental health services?
At this moment, I don't, but I'll make a note.
Okay,
I will
thank you.
try, and I'm not sure we capture that number right now, but we will make
would
an
help us
effort
all
to
if
do
we
that. But
consider
my
that.
guess would be 5 to 8%.
Okay, thank you.
That would be my guess.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Fontenot.
Ms. Forbes.
Yes.
I was wondering, in the past we've funded $20,000, correct?
That was what was in the budget for this year. It's the first time it's been in your budget.
This is the first time it's in the budget at
Yes.
all. We've
Yes,
never
ma'am.
funded this
Never.
before. Because I know that there was some talk about it last year. I work with the mental health board a lot,
Right.
and their concern was that the money would be applied to more buildings and that type of things. Whether they would want, you know, they want to make sure that the women would get mental health services for the money. Is what I'm saying.
Well, I am glad you brought up the buildings, because right now we are paying rent on a building, and that was my second request tonight, other than money, is if there's any space that's available. We would like not to have to put that money in rent. In fact, I've noticed the landlord that we're moving because we need other space. So we're looking for other space right now.
I guess what I'm asking is, what are you asking the council to fund? Is it services, you know, is it to put in money to take care of some women that would have mental health problems, or is it for other things in general?
It is for, and I did not bring the budget with me, but I had submitted a budget of proposed areas for income, of which $20,000 would have been from the parish budget and other sources of revenue, in which the expenses would be for services. At that time, and still continuing, we're going to have space, so that rent would be a cost for providing the service unless we could get that donated in kind by the community. But it is for services, direct services, and a way to support those services for the victims who live in Ascension Parish.
Right, but I guess what I'm asking, I know that you're providing a service to these women.
Right.
The mental health board is concerned about the mental health money
Right.
going for mental health services.
I understand.
And so there's a difference there.
There is, and I understand that. I mean, I used to be the administrator of the mental health center, and am familiar with your millage for that.
Right.
So I'm familiar with that. And women are not referred to us because they have a mental health problem.
Okay.
Women who come to us may have a mental health problem, just like they may have physical problems or substance abuse problems. But, you know, and when they have other kinds of needs for services, we do refer to those resources and give women information about those resources.
Thank you.
Mr. Savoy, you had a question?
Yeah, Miss Martha, did I understand you when you started off? You said something about the money's in the wrong place.
Well, what I understand is, and Ms. Fontenot was alluding to that, is that the monies were in the mental health millage portion of the budget. And it is my understanding that the Mental Health Board and the legal advice was that because this is not a mental health service, it's a victim service, that we might not be eligible to utilize those funds. But I'm pleading to find $20,000 somewhere to help to support the services.
Okay, Mr. President, in the budget, in the 07 budget, you budgeted $20,000 for battered women's?
I don't remember. I think we did through the mental health. I'm not sure. Miss
LeBlanc would know.
Financial.
It was budgeted in the 06 budget.
There's nothing in 07?
No, not at this time.
Is that what you understood, Miss Martha?
Well, I don't know. It was budgeted in 06 budget, and I need to do whatever I need to do to plead with you to also put it in 07 budget.
And it was budgeted out of the mental health fund, and the mental health department has questions or concerns about it coming out of their fund because this is not a mental health service.
I think
so. And the 07 budget offers no money for battered women's. Is that the way I'm understanding? Okay. And you serviced 367 residents of Ascension Parish.
Yes. So far this year.
Okay. That's all I have.
Finished, Mr. Thompson?
I'd like to offer a motion that we go back and add $20,000, the money that Ms. Martha asking for out the general budget and not mental health, and fund this project for 07.
Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Hillensbeck to allocate $20,000 from the general fund for use of the battered women's program in 2007. Is there discussion? And Mr. Thompson, continue, please.
And also see if we could work out some type of agreement for space for Ms. Martha.
Second that.
What kind of space do you need, Martha?
We need space for pre-court hearings, so, a small conference area, 12 to 15 people, which could also serve for support groups, and an office reception area can be duplicative, and we would like a room where we could do children's groups. So, not a whole large amount of space, but, I don't know, 800 square feet?
Well, wait, before we start adding some motions, why don't we go ahead and vote on the one that we have in front of us, and that's to allocate $20,000. Is there any other discussion on that motion to allocate the money for the 2007 budget? Is there any opposition to the motion? Then the motion passes. Ms. Suzanne, would you please put that on the agenda for next council meeting? Now, Mr. Thompson, you made is that in the form of a motion or?
It's just a suggestion.
I don't know if we can do that in a motion because I don't know if we have any office space that we can give.
Well,
your
request to the administration to go and see if we have any available office space where we can accommodate Ms. Martha.
This office, Martha, you need it. This is a full-time, 5-day-a-week office reception area. How often do you need the conference rooms? Is it possible that you can share a conference room, that
Yes.
sort of thing?
We could share a conference room, and we'd be willing to work with you on that. In terms of it being 5 days a week, that is our goal, but we're still cobbling money together to make sure that we have the funds.
Is it possible then that you could put into writing your request,
Yes.
the needs that you have?
Okay.
The specific needs that you have, and if you could get that to parish administration, Parish President Hughes, and we can start looking at that. Mr. Thompson?
Yes. We could look at Geismar Community Center. Has space. We have somebody to keep an eye on it. Man, just a suggestion.
It's a very good suggestion, Mr. Thompson. Write that down, Martha.
I wrote it down. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Is there anything else for Ms. Martha Forbes? Martha, thank you for being here.
May I ask you for one more clarification? What do we do about the 2006 budget?
It was a budgeted item for 2006, wasn't it?
I know, but I understand that we can't. I mean, I've sent an invoice and whatever I need to send, but that it's with it being in the mental health portion that it can't be.
I see heads shaking
released.
in the back of the room. Gwen, can you help enlighten us here, please?
Yes, like I said, it was budgeted in the 2006 budget for the mental health fund. When they submitted their amended budget, and because of previous conversations here, they deleted that amount from their fund. So it is not in, well, it's in the current budget, but it's considered for amendment to take it out of the mental health fund.
Can I ask a question? Well, Gwen, did we get a legal opinion that's saying that 5 to 8% of these people need substance abuse counseling or mental health services following domestic abuse, that our mental health people can't service them?
Not to my knowledge. I know that the mental health board talked to an attorney.
Okay. Would you give me a copy in writing that they're saying that 367 women, and Martha just said she estimates and gives us the exact number,
That's
5 to 8% would have a need for mental health or substance abuse services, and obviously.
Well, we have some board members here, but and the director, but I think if they qualify for services, they would be just like anybody else. They could go to the mental health clinic and receive those services.
I guess we need to know from you, Martha, as CEO of the parish, does it really matter to you where the money comes from?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Does not
Very
matter.
much.
I can make. I told the mental health board I thought I could make a case for mental health, but I didn't convince them.
I've had other people tell me you make that case too from that area. That's why we put it there.
Mr. Thompson? Come on now, and now's your chance. So what do we need to move it from mental health to the general fund? Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Fontenot to move that $20,000 from the mental health fund to the general fund for 2006. Second by Mr. Thompson to fund Battered Women's Program for 2006. Mr. Savoy.
Ms. Martha, what does your 2006 budget look like?
Our 2006 budget
Yeah.
for the Ascension Parish area, my estimate at the beginning of the year was that we would need $135,000 to service Ascension Parish. And we have put every bit of those resources that we could to meet that. That $20,000 would be a part of the $135,000 that we believe we need to provide services in this community.
What is your fiscal year?
January 1 through December 31st.
Okay, we're November the 9th today.
Right.
Where are you in your budget for the rest of the year?
Well, how do you mean, where am I in the budget? You mean about now? Am I going to...
You need a full $20,000
Yes,
to
sir.
finish the year
Yes,
off.
sir. I'm using
And if
cash.
you don't get $20,000, what happens?
Well, I'll still provide the services. I'll be honest with you about that, because the women in this parish need those services. I may not be able to provide as many services as I want to provide on the ground here, but we have never in over 10 years stopped services to any parish that we serve, and this is one of them.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but can I ask you why you waited till now to come to us? Why didn't you come to us when you found out that you was not going to be able to get the $20,000 from mental health?
Well, I wrote a letter in August about it because I thought...
To who?
To the parish president. And then I was informed or maybe in July I wrote the letter because I hadn't seen any money. And then I got a response back, and then we had October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I apologize, but I had to wait. I mean, we did a lot of things, and it's just a matter of there are only 35 women who work in the 7-parish area, to provide these services.
But when did you first find out that you wasn't going to get any money for 06?
Officially, in the letter in response to sending an invoice.
Okay. All right. That's all I got. Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Is there any further discussion? Is there any opposition? Then that motion passes. Suzanne, would you please add that to the council agenda for next week as a recommendation?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming,
all
Ms.
of you.
Martha. Good luck driving back home. Hope you have better.
Well, it'll probably be easier getting back.
Yes, this is true.
But thank you.
Everybody wants to come
I
to
know
Ascension
that.
Parish.
I've noticed that. Thank you.
All right, and along that same vein, we have item number 7, and that is mental health, and we have our mental health director, Ms. Susan Mittendorf. And we also have 2 members of the board. We have Ms. Gautreaux and Ms. Batiste who are coming up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Gautreaux, the chairman of the Mental Health Board, Ms. Zenobia Batiste, are going to make the report on the budget.
Well, we had a little conference on the budget. We met with Ms. Gwen and her staff. It was very enlightening. Then we took our cuts to Ms. Suzanne, and we come to an agreement.
Good.
And we turned it over to Ms. Gwen just a few minutes ago. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Is everybody happy?
Yes.
Then there are no questions. Thank you very much. I'll tell you what, folks, y'all can come and make a report like that any month. We'll be happy to receive you. Thank you very, very much. Item number 8, then. Finance Department reports. Item 8A, Sales and Use Tax Report. Gwen, can you give us a happier report than that?
Good evening, members of the Finance Committee and President Hughes. You have before you your normal sales tax report, and we can go over it rather quickly. You can see the center column, which is the collections, and we have our 3 sales tax districts: East Ascension Drainage, Sales and Use Tax District number 1, and Sales and Use Tax District number 2. If you look at October collections, this will be the first month that we're comparing post-Katrina month with a post-Katrina month. It's October collections, but it's September sales. And you'll notice that the East Ascension Drainage, October compared this year to last year, the percent of difference is 7.5%. The 1 cent sales tax district is 15.5%, and the half-cent sales district is 17.5%. With the collections that we've had thus far this year, we have exceeded the total amount collected last year. So we're on track to end the year with anywhere from an 18 to 20% increase in collections 06 over year 05. In the sector section, we did see a dip in retail sales this year, and it was really in one of our municipalities that it was a major, not a major, but I mean from what we've been seeing, it was a dip in the retail sales, and you can see that affecting your drainage district. It affected your drainage. At the same time that retail took a small dip, the chemical quarter, the petrochemical industry was an increase. So it balanced out in sales tax district number 1, which does not include the cities, and sales tax district number 2. And on the second page is the bar charts, and you can see by the 06 bar chart that it is a little bit higher already than the whole year of 2005. And the last bar chart is a history chart for your review. So, like I said, we're on track to probably have the highest sales tax collection in the history of our parish this year. But to be caution you that we are seeing a dip already in sales taxes from that high, 25%, 20% up, and we're starting to compare post-Katrina months with post-Katrina months.
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Gwen?
Yep.
Mr. Samore?
Yeah, Ms. Gwen, do we know where Walmart and Donaldsonville is as far as reaching that cap to where we start receiving some
They're reaching it this month.
this month?
Right.
Okay.
We'll start sharing with the next collection month.
Okay.
Mr. Thompson?
What's our share? And half?
It's half-half. Once we guaranteed them a cap, and then once they reach that cap, then we share 50-50 on all of the sales tax.
Right. Well, all the sales tax collected in that area,
Right.
not the whole city.
Okay. I think so. Thank you, Gwen.
Okay, and also this is our end of a quarter in our budget and our revenues and expenditures, our accounting system, and Amanda will give you that report.
Thank you. We have Miss Amanda Barat.
Hello. This report is based on the current 2006 budget. It is not based on the 2006 proposed amended budget that y'all are reviewing at this time. Your general fund revenue is at 76% of the budget. Your general fund expenditures are at 68%. Road and bridge revenues at 68%. Expenditures at 74%. East Ascension drainage revenues are at 82%. Expenditures are at 71%. East Ascension major drainage revenues at 79% of the budget. Expenditures are at 78%. West Ascension drainage revenues at 71%. Expenditures are at 68%. Your maintenance fund revenues are at 74%. Expenditures are at 77%. Sales and use tax district number 1 revenues are at 74%. Expenditures are at 63%. Sales tax number 2 revenues are at 80%. Expenditures are at 81%. The health unit fund, your revenues are at 85%. Your total expenditures are at 73%. Mental health revenues are at 73%. Your expenditures are at 71%. Jail fund revenues at 75%. Your expenditures are at 76%. Recreation fund revenues are at 76%. Expenditures are at 74%. Recreation B fund revenues are at 75%. Expenditures at 117.
Can you explain that one? Is there something? Is that?
We encumbered the full amount, but the encumbrance in the 2006 amended budget that y'all were reviewing, we increased the revenue and expenses based on the increase in the sales tax. They get 10% of what's given to Recreation A. So both of them are increasing in the amended budget, but we encumbered that amount.
You've already, okay.
Yeah. So,
Mr.
so the amount you see in there with
I got some research to do on that. I'll come back later.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Please proceed.
Your construction funds, East Ascension major construction revenue is at a negative 1%. Expenditures at 64%. Courthouse East construction revenues are 168%. Expenditures are at 98%. Road construction revenue is at 55%. Expenditures at 55%. Office building construction revenues are at 0%. Expenditures at 1%. Fire district number 1 construction revenues at 0%. Expenditures at 4%. Your water wastewater fund revenues at 18%. Expenditures at 35%. LCDBG Dallas Sewer Project revenues at 100%, expenditures at 121%. LCDBG Hillaryville Project revenues are at 0%, expenditures at 5%. And
I don't think you need to go over those unless anyone's interested in the non-major fund.
Yeah.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes, Amanda just let the board know the Lighting District Number 6 Fund. We are looking at a couple of major projects. The intersection I-10 and LA-30, and also Highway 44 and I-10. We're waiting on the state. There's some major electrical problems that has to be addressed. So we waiting to see if the state will help us with that. But we will be spending some funds on repairing those intersections.
Okay.
Mr. Savoy?
Yeah, on other funds, you got Hopeville Estates Maintenance Fund. I see we 168% over, or right at $50,000 in the red. Is that correct, Amanda?
Second to last page.
Yes, and I think we have a budget amendment for that. I'm not quite sure.
Why are we over? Bill or whoever can answer that. What's happening there?
Can I go get my report, my line item report?
I mean, I know we're running real tight as far as the user fees being able to take care of the operations, but I thought we were closer.
I think we had some pump repairs there too. And,
it was those pump repairs, you think, Bill?
Yes, we have some emergency repairs we had to do out there because the sump pumps sent them out for reworking. And you got to remember too that this is set. These budgets are set as per the revenue coming in. The revenue is fairly set. That's the revenue from the user revenue, and it's not unusual for us to go over that because we get emergency repairs and we just have to supplement the user fee when something like that happens.
Bill.
Yes, sir.
How old are those pumps? I thought we just done some major capital work on those on the system.
Your plants itself are new, but you have some different sump pumps and transfer pumps that were there before in the collection system. They had some problems out there where they burn up, and we're going back to the manufacturer to renew or to replace some of them. But there is some problems with them. And I can't tell you, I can get a report and get some more information for you on it.
I'd like to have a report on that because we spent some money to upgrading that system, and I'd like to know
it's a new collection system. First we had the plants were put in, and then we came back with another grant to do the collection system. And so they had some time between the two. They weren't everything done at one time. Okay. But the best thing, let me get you a report and an itemized list of everything that was done out there.
Please.
No problem.
Amanda, getting back on the health unit. We're over on a miscellaneous item by $16,700. Do we have any idea what that contributes?
Which one? I'm sorry.
Health unit on miscellaneous. We're 123% over.
That's revenues. Their revenues are. It's their charges for service. Services they've collected more than what they had anticipated.
So that's a good thing.
That is a good thing since we're running so tight on that particular budget.
That's a good thing.
Health department also look at the sewer systems and all like that. You pay those sewer fees and hookup fees and stuff. That's probably
For what? Not in the health unit. Which one?
On the inspections and that goes to the state. Okay.
All right, on finance and paralegal, your capital outlay, you're at 221% on your capital outlay. What is this?
It's being corrected in the amended budget. We moved some money from another code to cover that. It was some computer equipment that we needed to upgrade. So we moved some money from another line item to cover it.
That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else? Well, before we move on, then, thank you, Amanda. Congratulations to Mr. Thompson and Mr. Joseph on the Ascension Consolidated Utilities District tax election recently that just passed overwhelmingly. So I think that's a good testament to the work that you all have done over the years. And I know, Mr. Joseph, you've been heavily involved in that project. Mr. Thompson.
It's all the work of Mr. Joseph. He have done a good job with that AUCD work, with making sure that they provide water to residents on the west side that couldn't get good water, and I think he have done an outstanding job.
And I think that you were right. What was it, a 2-to-1, 3-to-1?
70%.
Not bad. Not too shabby.
And I want to thank you on that, but I want to thank the community for voting on that. They know they need it, and every home over there needs fire protection, and this will bring that to them.
Congratulations. Thank you, and now we're going to move to item number 9. These are contract renewal approvals, and we have Ms. Sandra Pereira, paralegal. Item A for fire protection. Well, I'll let you, Sandra, go on.
As before, I gave you all the handouts, although it says agenda number 8, and it's actually number 9.
You have that in your packets. It says contract presentations. It's incorrectly labeled number 8A. But it's there.
That was from earlier. And then they
Same
changed
thing
it
as last year's, right? I make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Hillensbeck.
Second.
Second by Ms. Fontenot to approve these contracts. Number 1 is Fire Protection District number 3, agreement with the parish to perform certain administrative functions and an agreement to provide for payment of part-time firemen. Mr. Babin's not here. Do we need to take these one by one? Are these individual contracts?
One by one.
I think we should as well. So, Mr. Hillensbeck, I'm going to assume that your motion is for 9A1
Fire
agreement.
Protection District number 3.
Agreement with the parish to perform certain administrative functions. Second by Ms. Fontenot. Discussion. Is there opposition? That motion passes. Ms. Suzanne, please add that to our next agenda. Item 9A2 is an agreement to provide for payment of part-time firemen. Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Ms. Fontenot to approve that contract. Is there discussion? Is there opposition? Then that motion passes as well. Suzanne, please put that on the agenda. Item 9B, Ascension Parish Tourist Commission for the parish to assume certain administrative functions.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Valentine.
Second.
By Mr. Joseph. Is there discussion? Is there any opposition? That motion passes. Ms. Suzanne, please add that to the agenda. Item number C is to provide for a fiscal agency agreement with Whitney National Bank, WebLink, PCACH, and reporting service. Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Savoy. Is there discussion? Is there opposition? Then that motion passes. Ms. Suzanne, if you'll add that to the agenda. Item 9D, Excel Software Professionals Preferred Client Support Plan and Amendment to the 2006 contract. What is that amendment? Just quick, I didn't get to read it.
This was an increase over the additional work needed for the new requisition module program that interface with the current purchase order system.
And what are we looking at? It's an additional cost of $10,450. $10,450.
Right.
Okay, motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion? Is there any opposition? Then that motion passes. Suzanne, please add that to the agenda. Okay? Thank you, Ms. Sandra. Appreciate you. Item number 10 is the authorization to issue a task order to SJB Group, LLC for the Ascension Parish Jail Expansion. DPW Director, Mr. Bill Rue.
Yes, sir. This is actually 2 task orders. The first one is for $26,650. This is as part of the jail expansion. It's mandated by and requested by the architect. This is for the placement of the new building to determine where it could go, and also clear up some boundary disputes.
Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Joseph.
Second.
Is there discussion?
Yeah,
Mr.
I'm sorry, I got to discuss it. What's this for, the $26,000?
That's for the jail expansion in Donaldsonville. Okay.
For what? Exactly what am I getting for this $26,000?
It's boundary and topo survey of the jail.
Right.
First thing it is to establish the boundaries and the boundaries of adjacent properties. Second thing is to do different scenarios within that property of where a new addition could go. Okay, working with the architect to determine the best place for it to go, and also determine if they need to take other property.
Okay, that's better than the first thing I heard from you.
Okay. It's more than just a survey.
Mr. Parish President.
And y'all need to be aware this is a problem that's been brought about because the previous surveys all over the place. We don't know what we got over there. I mean, in fact, I think one of them, didn't you tell me that Riverdale subdivision or whatever may be?
Well, actually, the second task order has to do with that problem.
So before we get into that, let's vote on it then. How about any further discussion on that particular one? Is there any opposition? Then that motion passes. We'll issue that task order if we can put that on the next agenda. Okay, Bill, now.
Okay, the second task order, $26,360, has to do with the problems in connection with the property next to the jail. It was determined through the first survey and by the architects that the jail needs the adjoining property. The adjoining property is it has a lot of boundary disputes. They had 3 surveys on it over the last 50 years. Every survey is inaccurate. So, and there's a lot of property owners for that other piece of property. So it was requested by our attorney, Ricky Babin, that we probably have to go to expropriation. This second task order is to do more surveying of the adjacent property, clear the boundary disputes, and also prepare all of the acquisition and appraisal records to go to expropriation. And Mr. Babin is handling that and requested that SJB provide these documents.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Thompson and a second by Mr. Hillensbeck to authorize that task order. Is there any further discussion? Is there any opposition? Then that motion passes. And Suzanne, would you please add that to the agenda? Thank you. That's it, Bill?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Suzanne, is that something on, Gwen, is that something on this, or?
I want to go back to the contract renewals, if you don't mind.
All right.
Okay.
Which one?
When we talked about Excel software, there was an amendment to the 06, but it's also up for renewal for 2007. So while you voted on the amendment to 06, we did not introduce the renewal for 07.
Then we'll entertain that motion. Motion by Ms. Fontenot, second by Mr. Joseph to renew the contract.
Right, for
Is
07.
there discussion? Is there any opposition? Then we need to include that.
Thank you.
Suzanne, make sure that when that's put on the agenda that we have that broken down into the two, please, the amendment and the renewal, because that's not on our agendas here. Mr. Hillensbeck, you had a question? Got it? Okay.
Wait, didn't we have 2 separate?
Yeah, you had 3 separate. We only talked about one.
And I realized it was probably in there. It just was not. It wasn't designated on the agenda, so it's easy to skip. You know, we all have to be retrained every now and then up here. All right, we're going to move in then to item number 12, and that's the 2007 budget review. We've put that on this agenda. You recall we had a special meeting about that. Very nice meeting, by the way. Last Wednesday night, where we discussed several different items in the budget, and we're just going to kind of reconvene that. There's no special program, agenda, or method or means that we're going to be doing today, but we just want to continue that debate, that discussion. If anybody has any questions or any discussion that they want to have about this budget, because it's going to be introduced next, we're voting on it. We have a public hearing next Thursday night, a week from tonight. Does anybody have anything they want to say about this budget? Mr. Savoy.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, as I stated in our working meeting on the budget, I had something on Lamar Dixon and Siemens Energy Saving Company. I'm going to spare you one more time on Lamar Dixon because I'm still on my turnaround. I'm pretty much brain dead. I'll come up with this later on. But one thing I would like to move on is the energy saving program. I'm going to make a resolution that we move forward with a energy saving program, and it doesn't have to be the full-blown plan that was shown to us last year. I believe the jail being the largest user of utilities, I think that's the one that we should, I would like to go after, as far as if you want to call it a pilot program or whatever, to move forward on that and finding monies in the budget, or going and getting some low interest loan that you can do it through, Siemens will work through that. Either way we see fit, or the best way to go, whether we get some money out of the budget for the program, or we go and borrow some low interest money, and the savings is supposed to pay for the loan. Now, however you want to proceed, Mr. Chairman.
Well, as I recall, the proposal by Siemens included a low interest rate loan.
Correct.
They would advance the funds necessary to do all of the work, and then they would do all of the work. And then we would pay them back. It was amortized over 10 years, I think. It would actually have to be a budgeted item that we would pay them back, but the theory being that our energy bills would be reduced such that we would see a savings in there. I don't know, it was about $5,000 a year, something like that.
Second that resolution, Mr. Salvor, put it on the table.
The motion is to find an avenue to implement an energy saving program, and we're going to target the jailhouse. Now, we can, if there's money, if you want to put some, get some money from the budget and make a loan, let Siemens, or let Siemens borrow all of the money necessary for that. It doesn't matter to me. That's up to administration, But that's my motion.
If we could get, Mr. President, the administration to contact Siemens, because we did go on record that when we proceeded with this program that we would use the Siemens organization. I think that was the vote that we would use them. So could, Mr. President, I think that request is that someone from your administration contact the representative of Siemens and get the ball rolling on this, start some discussions.
And we've met with him several times. I think the last time, I have to go back and refresh the notes, but I think what we had, and it may have been the full-blown thing, Jerry, where the benefit and the cost saving on utilities would not really justify the expenditure of the capital money up front. And Dr. Kell and a bunch of them really looked at that. It would be so many years that we would recoup the money that we used to retrofit, because we got part of the, and I had to go back and refresh myself because it's been quite a while, but one of the problems was, and I think the Siemens representatives recognized it as well, we had so many buildings scattered all over the place. You have a building, and it may work at the jail. The last conversation I remember having with them was that they would look at the two courthouses, and this new expansion here is a problem. This room in here is hot a lot, and we can't even adjust it inside this room. And so we'd ask them to look at the two courthouses. I think we'd also ask them to look at Lamar-Dixon because of high utility costs there last year, and then I think the jail was the four we asked them to really look at to see if it would benefit us. But when you start looking at mental health buildings, everything's so scattered. A lot of those systems are based on when there's nobody in the buildings, automatically shutting on and off and things like that. And so we'd be happy to go back and address that and look at it and just look at the jail. I don't remember if they actually gave us a proposal on just the jail or not.
Yes, they did. I had unfortunately, I left my material at home, but they did. They had every building that they evaluated last year, and they had a cost associated with each one of them. So far as the worthiness of it, it's sweeping the country. Energy efficient programs are sweeping the country. President Bush has an initiative on energy saving. Even industry is acknowledging Energy Star programs. So it is something that I think we need to look at. And as a pilot program, I'd like to pick one building, a large utility user, and try it and see. Anyway.
All right.
We'll look at that.
Further that, Mr. Keller did the investigation?
Don't quote me, Adrian. This has been several months ago. We had them to go in and take Siemens proposals, track it out over the period of time they were projecting cost savings on the utility side, and look at the capitalization costs on the front end. Okay, and as I recall, it didn't make a lot of difference. The parish put up the money if we went and borrowed the money, other than we'd pay interest if we borrowed it. So what we had them do is to look at, we put up X number of dollars, $1 million to retrofit buildings to meet their standards that they said they would have to have in order for their system to work to reduce energy utilization. And then they looked at over that period of time when what we would save in utility costs and what we put up and what we would have made if we'd invested that $1 million in interest and so forth instead of expending it up front. As I recall, it did not really justify it. Now, I think it was Dr. Keller in Grant's office, but we'll pull all that out and look at it. But it was a thorough review of the capital cost and so forth. I mean, it was. Now, in one building, like maybe just this building, for example, you could come up with something. But even here, and I'm not sure if it was, we got separate systems here and all. And so we'll look at it and we'll get it all out, and we can have a little working meeting on it. Sit down and look at all the numbers.
Okay. Is there any opposition to the motion? Then the motion passes. Suzanne, please place that resolution on our next agenda. Well, we have item number 13. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're still on item 12.
Else.
We're still on item 12. I'm sorry. We're still discussing budget. Cheryl, Ms. Fontenot, you had something?
Well, I think there's several of us on the council here that are concerned about mosquito control, and I would like to see us find some more money to and even work on maybe a better plan or do some more research or whatever. They're just tearing up the parish, and it's a major concern of mine, and I think several of us up here. So if we can maybe see if we can find some more money that we can add in for that, and then work with David Matassa and company to see if we can come up with a better program to maintain this, because they're getting out of control.
Right.
Motion to.
I don't.
Do we need to make a motion?
I don't know. I'm certainly in favor of that. Let me tell you that. I am very much in favor of finding additional money from general fund and moving it from somewhere and adding it to mosquito control, because it's terrible. You can't even go outside during the day. Are we ready to do that right now, Gwen? I'm a call on Gwen LeBlanc for expertise. I don't know where we would move it from or how we would take it, or I mean, would we want to go ahead and do a budget amendment, since we're considering an amendment to the 2007 with all this budget we're looking at the 2007 budget, and we're also looking at amendments to the 2006 budget. Would we want to go ahead and consider an amendment right now to the 2006 budget? Are we timely, or
vote on it, we'll take that motion and add it to an amendment that we will present after the public hearing.
After the public hearing.
But the motion next week actually would authorize us to expend the funds.
So we could just make that as a regular motion instead of as a budget amendment. So Ms. Fontenot makes the motion, and Mr. Thompson seconds that to allocate additional funds. Do you have a dollar amount in mind, or?
No, that's something that I think that administration should.
Right.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Just a moment. Mr. Hillensbeck first.
Yeah, everything Councilwoman Fontenot said, stated earlier was correct. But actually what we'd asked for was we wanted administration to go take a look at this and get with that particular department and come back with a recommendation. I mean, I'm like Cheryl, I want to increase the budget and do additional mosquito control, but I'm not sure at this point what we need to do, and so I'd like to have some type of presentation, maybe from Mr. Matassa or from the administration, showing us how much additional money we need to allocate, and how it's going to be spent. And I'm not saying we need to go out and hire new employees, and I think Mr. Valentine's pointed this out. If we can contract these services out, that's fine too. It's just whatever needs to be done, but we do have a problem I'm not saying that the mosquitoes we're faced with right now are carrying the West Nile virus, but we have a serious mosquito problem, as well as other parishes. So,
right. Okay, Mr. President, I'm sorry.
Yeah, two or three things that I want to remind you guys of, that we don't knee-jerk or just overreact. Obviously, we do have a problem, but it's throughout the South Louisiana area. And you recall we did contract recently for aerial spraying, and we absolutely didn't do any good, probably, with what we can tell. And I'm sure we did some good. We probably killed some mosquitoes. And you remember Mr. Matassa came to you a few weeks ago as part of one of my reports about you have to understand the difference between larvicide and killing mosquitoes and trying to keep new mosquitoes from being born. And so there's a lot to this. And there, David is still in the process of looking at, he's given me a preliminary report, I read it, at what other parishes are doing, what they're expending. Our budget has increased from 200 to about 340, I think. But unless you're talking about going spray every ditch, every body of water, and you're talking about, and if you'll listen to the...
Well, I think that's understood. I don't know that we want to talk about each and every ditch, but I think it's pretty clear that this whole council seems to be kind of united that we want to do something. We do want to fund this, right or wrong, true or not. I've had calls from constituents who say that they're accustomed to seeing the mosquito truck, and they haven't seen the mosquito truck lately. And some people say they've called the parish government, and the parish government says, we're out of mosquito money.
No, that's not true.
I know, that's what I said, true
we
or not.
We received over 100-something calls one day last week, and some of it's socials in the backyard. And so, I mean, and that's just throwing money at a problem. It's not solving the problem, guys. And you're talking about all the bodies of water, and for a long time we had a very dry climate. And what the professionals are telling us is that these things came in last year with the storms, and now they're hatching and being born. And I don't understand all this. I don't want to. Okay. But
these are FEMA mosquitoes.
These are FEMA mosquitoes. These are Rita and Katrina mosquitoes. But and there's more species now. I mean, and so this has gotten, and we have moved mosquito control into the old building out in Salmo that was a health unit where we have laboratories. We're doing a lot of research now, starting to do some on our own, as well as with the folks at the state trying to get a handle on it. But I've talked to parish presidents in other parishes, and there is no trend. When we've looked at people who are spending millions, and they got the problem right now, and we're looking at people who don't spend any because they don't have any money for it. And you got a parish like St. James, which is right on the Mississippi River. They was impacted by the storm. They have 0 cases of West Nile, so they're saying. Okay? And we're showing 20. But we know there's probably people in their parish with it that just hadn't been diagnosed. So you got to be real careful when you want to go out and solve a problem, because this is not an easy problem to resolve. And this year is a very atypical year, they're telling us. Okay? I mean, next year we may have no problem. So it's just one of those things that we're looking at it. Mr. Matassa is doing the research. I ask you to be a little patient, our citizens to be patient.
Well, I think we're about to give Mr. Matassa a big vote of confidence and a big pat on his back, and the assurance that we want to help him do his job better. Is there any further discussion? Do we understand this motion, Suzanne? Do you know what the motion is? Is that I believe that it's not a general a specific motion. That the motion was that we would approve moving funds from general fund into mosquito control based upon recommendation of the mosquito control department and the administration, right?
Just one comment on it. Maybe Mr. Matassa, and he's already done this already. Maybe he can get some kind of quotes. You don't have to name the company. Just get a couple of quotes on how much it costs on spraying time, and kind of educate us on something like that. Probably most of us around this council don't even know how much that would cost. So let's see about that. That would be something we'd have to contract out, but he could get with some firms around.
Good point, Mr. Valentine. Thank you, Ms. Fonda.
Morton, I don't know a whole lot about this, but I have heard that there's chemicals out there similar to what we spray on our crepe myrtle trees that kill the mites. It's sort of an oil-based thing, so that it's not like blown in the air or whatever, but that it would smother the larva. So, I mean, there's some things out there and some research, and Parish President said that Mr. Matassa is doing that. So if there are funds that are needed or whatever, I want to, make sure that we can kind of include some extra stuff. And for the time being, we may need some extra trucks or people, even for the rest of this year, into the 206 budget. So I don't know, but that's something that we need to consider because it's really a bad problem.
Yes, it is. Is there any further discussion? Is there any opposition? The motion passes. Suzanne, put that on the agenda, please, and maybe by next week we can have some of that information from Mr. Matassa. Are there any more comments or questions on the budget? The public hearing is scheduled for next Thursday night, Mr. Savoy?
Yes, I do. I need some clarification on the 5% allowance that's in the 07 budget.
When you say 5% allowance, you're talking about salary and personnel salary increases.
Yeah, I do not understand what that means right now when they say a 5% allowance.
Mr. President, can you address that?
Yeah, that's it. Suggest we get 2 or 3 of you together like we normally do, and we come in with finance and go through all of that. You get into that, you're looking at the, you're looking at those people in the STEP program, you're looking at those people who are not in the STEP program, and we gave you some, the salary survey itself that they've been working on, and Mr. Katz is on vacation this week, and he'll be back shortly. So I suggest we do it that way, Jerry. Sit down and go through that. We've had some discussion about actual 4% raise and with a sum, and so because of the different levels in our salary administration program. But what we're trying to address, and you heard Harry say tonight that the health insurance, if we keep what we have, it may be a 32% increase, which is just astronomical. And so our employees are actually falling farther behind just due to health insurance costs. For example, to put this in perspective, I was with with Nikki and I talked this afternoon. We have an employee and their spouse. That's costing us $14,580 a year now for the portion of that health insurance we pay. And there's 117 people that are just employees. We have 63 who have employee and spouse, and then you see what that cost is. We got 38 with the employee but not the spouse but some children, and we got 52 where the husband, spouse, or vice versa, and their children in. And when you add the kids in, you add an additional $9,384. So we have 270 employees that participate just in the health insurance program. We have 104, and that's one reason we're trying to address that for people like myself, CAO, our public information officer, our zoning official, who else? They don't participate in the health insurance program, and they're not compensated any for that benefit they're losing. So, for example, if my spouse and I are in the program, it'd be costing the parish $9,948 a year, which we're saving right now. Same thing with the chief administrative officer. Same thing with these other people. If they had their spouses or their children involved in this, so they're paying this themselves or doing it through another source. A couple instances, they are now able enough for Medicare. So we're trying to look at this from a fairness standpoint, also a standpoint of our employees who, in the last 3 years, health, you look at the budget, we only put, I think, 22% health insurance increase. And yet the proposals are looking like, if we keep a conventional program, going to be significantly more than that. And so, and this is just the portion, Jerry, that the parish is paying, as the employer is paying. And when the employees are having to pay these extra costs, and we're talking about now, a husband and wife could be close to $20,000 a year between what the parish pays and what they're going to pay. So I think Mr. Heiss was also on vacation through the weekend for Veterans Day tomorrow, so we'd like to get them together, get Mr. Katz together, so we can go through individual classes with you. There's people in STEP, people not in STEP, people in director and management positions. But this has become a significant part, and we showed you in the budget where benefits have increased. I think it's up to going 44 to 46% now. So it was like 33 or 34 a few years ago, and that is now up to almost half of the salary. And the state has mandated increases in what we put into retirement again, in the appropriate retirement system. They do those mandates, but they don't send any state revenue sharing down to help with it. And so we'll be happy to address the 5% and work with you from different angles. But in the past, we've done 2 or 3%. Remember last year, you guys voted against the department heads getting any cost of living adjustment. And we've seen since the storms of 2005, cost of living has increased significantly. And so when the parish is paying 33% more for utilities, obviously we're probably paying a good bit more for utilities at our homes as well, and health insurance. So there's a lot of issues here. I think it'd be best handled, though, if we get in a small group and go through it and then come back to the entire group as a whole.
Ms. Saville, you still have the floor.
If I possibly can and my schedule allows me, I would definitely do it. I've been trying to get with Ms. Gwynn since you presented the proposed budget. But one thing that does concern me, as far as you talking about the cost of living going up tremendously, and we all know that since Katrina came in, that is correct. But the way my numbers and what I'm looking at here, we would have, if we went with the 5% allowance, we would have 105 employees that would receive nothing if you went with the 5% allowance. That loaf of bread costs those 105 people the same amount as the rest of the employees.
Oh, it's our intent to benefit all of them.
So I am interested in hearing, and I'm with an open mind, but I am concerned about this 105 not getting nothing.
We do not plan on anybody not getting nothing.
According to the 5% allowance, we budgeted $539,000. $539,000. And I had them work up a schedule. If we gave a 2% across the board cost of living raise, that would be $217,000. That is something for us to look at, and I am looking at that. But I do have a concern about the 105 employees that would not get a raise because they are at their maximum step, or they've finished their step or whatever. So anyway, if I can, I will try to get with administration. But as of right now, this is where I'm going.
Okay. Mr. Thompson?
Salvo, the only way I can support 5%, if it be across the board, everybody gets it. It's the only way.
If that's the case, you need to know what that would cost the parish.
Exactly.
And that's one of the reasons, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Just a moment. I think Ms. Gwynn already knows what it's going to cost the parish.
Right. The 5% allowance, we put that on all salaries. We're not knowing who or who would not, but it includes everybody, that 105 also.
So this $539,000 is a 5% across the board.
It's our total
pay raise.
It's our total payroll, just adding 5% to it.
All right. I understand what you're saying. Answer my question.
Okay.
This $539,000 represents a 5% across the board for every employee.
Correct.
Pay raise.
Correct.
Other than the parish president.
Right.
But it does
And the
include
council.
administrators, department heads, directors.
All the employees, you know, they're all, the total salaries that we pay for all our employees, we added 5%.
With the
except
exception of the parish president.
the parish president and the council, which is controlled by state law.
And to further clarify this, Jerry, and the reason, remember last year what we did, we really didn't add to salaries. We did like a bonus, one-time thing that because of steps and all. And so that's why we want to sit down in small groups and address this. But last year we were not fully aware of what a post-Katrina effect was going to be in our area. And now we have a pretty good idea that a lot of these increased costs, even though gasoline costs has gone down significantly, a lot of other costs have not. And so I think that's why in a small group we really look at that. But and in addition, want you to consider just those people who are working for the parish. Many of them are in management level positions who are actually saving the parish tens of thousands of dollars by not participating in the health insurance program. So when you factor in those kind of considerations, I think we just need to talk about those things, because a husband and wife, a spouse of an employee not in the program, they're saving the parish $9,948 a year. That's just our portion of that. So
I appreciate that.
Thanks.
No, that's all I got.
Mr. Savoy? Okay, so we are going to address that salary structure, because salary increases go into effect January 1, yes?
If
that's correct.
If you so choose.
Yes. That's an automatic thing. So
No.
I might add, Council Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, Ms. Gwen. No, we do it based on employees' anniversary dates and things. So don't get too locked into the budget being a fiscal year 1 January, December 31st. Your personnel manual.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, but I asked that question specifically. That question was specifically asked before, and this council was told that raises went into effect January 1 with the new budget.
Well,
not on an anniversary date.
Well, you got to revise your personnel manual then, because the personnel manual policies that you've adopted in the past is tied in on the anniversary.
Some people may not get a raise.
So what we did last year, we did the, let's just call it a bonus, or we prorated based on their. In other words, if a person was going to have an anniversary date in March, well, they may only got 9 months of that increase last year. You follow me? And so that's the kind of issue we need to sit down and talk about. I mean, because there's a lot more to it because of the different classes of salary administration than just across the board 5%. That's what we put in there, which would be the maximum amount of money if every employee got 5%. But then when you get into your personnel management manual restrictions, okay, with the anniversary of employees' length of service, and your STEP program is tied into length of service. And so you may have a new person that was hired.
STEP program. This is
you may have a person we hired this month, okay? Their first year anniversary won't be the next November, the end of the fiscal year, although we may have put 5% money in the budget, quote unquote. But so those are the kind of issues you got to sit and look at, and that's why I want the personnel director there and Mr. Heiser, who administers the budget process with Ms. LeBlanc, to look at these things and see what you guys would like to try to do with it. But
Mr. Valentine, you're our personnel chairman, sir.
I remember debating this last year. I remember even some people that we had hired late in the year actually didn't get a one-time raise, or at least we talked about that. So, I mean, I thought that was one of the reasons we gave this one time. I thought everybody had got it at the beginning of the year. And so that's the only thing I wanted to add to it. But I don't want to further this discussion. We'll break into small group times.
And you're exactly right. That's not something really we can solve right here, right now. Because we're missing too many specifics, and we really just have to have that spread out in front of us. Mr. Thompson?
Yes, but I still think we need to address that in the personnel manual and send it to Mr. Valentine's Personnel Committee and look at tweaking that where everybody could be affected by a raise.
Well, that's the place to have it at Mr. Valentine's committee, because they do consider not parish personnel matters, but they do consider parish the personnel policy, the salary administration, and stuff like that. So.
And I'll be glad to look at that. In fact, that was some of the reason why Mr. Katz gave you a survey that you had last time. Now, we also are still waiting for some of these people that are maxed out in some of these particular areas where they've been working for the parish for a long time and have maxed out in the bracket X number of dollars to X number of dollars. And because of the competition for workers, those brackets were supposed to be looked at and also widened so that raises could continue for these employees. And that's what I asked him to try to present to us. Now, I realize he's on vacation and he's also still taking treatment, so we'll address that.
We'll get to it. Mr. Savoy, one final thought on this?
Yeah, just to remind you that it is on the agenda as a public hearing next Thursday. If we're going to move on it, need to call a meeting and get it taken care of. We can, and we do have the opportunity to extend the public hearing another 2 weeks if we need to. Prefer not to. If you can, Mr. Valentine, call a meeting and get it together.
We'll try and do that. That may be very difficult to do. That may have to be something we may have to go once again with this one-time pay raise, or we would have to come back and adjust the budget for next year with the personnel change.
Okay? Is there anything else you want to say on this budget? Then we have item number 13. That's the proposed agenda for next week's meeting. Please take a moment and look that over and see if there are any additions, deletions, or changes that you feel need to be made to it.
Suzanne, you have my condition, my update on Muddy Creek Bridge grant.
Martin.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Mr. Thompson.
Transportation. Bill, I had talked to you about a month ago about putting a load limit on Pierce Road. And you mentioned that there was other roads that you was going to put on transportation that you wanted to put a load limit on.
We have a transportation meeting Tuesday, I think. And we can put it on agenda and some other roads, so we'll talk about it Tuesday.
We'll make sure that takes place, Mr. Thompson, on Tuesday.
Also, another transportation issue. The extension of Raymond Road. We had talked that y'all had some other company that roads in their district that they wanted to extend. I talked to you about that, Mr. Valentine.
Well, let's talk about the transportation. Ms. Cheryl, put that on there.
Raymond.
What was the first road you talked about, a load limit?
Pierce Road. And the extension of Raymond Road in Darrow. That's it.
Mr. Byriger is not here, so will somebody do the honors on number 14?
Motion adjourned.
You're adjourned.
Second.